Good morning. Happy Saturday, Arsenal community. As you can see, a fellow Arsenal brother has joined me this early morning, the breakfast show for Albert JTV. Arsenal talk, of course, people. Just a small matter of a UEFA Champions League quarter-final draw to discuss, amongst many other things. But before we get into it, let's smash the Albert JTV intro. Arsenal community, you are locked into Albert JTV. Subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. Declan Rice's performance in that quarterfinal against France was elite level. Fantastic move personally. It kind of caught myself and probably Arsenal fans a bit left field in terms of hello and once again, good morning to Albert JTV for the slightly after 9 a.m. show, which is my fault because Tom was probably on time and I was setting up last seconds, which is not like me. But as I like to say, people, the obligatories, completely obliterate the like button. Don't even touch it, obliterate it, people. That's more important. And of course, audio listeners, you have never been forgotten. You never will be forgotten because this will go out on the Apple download and the Spotify download, so you can hear Tom's Kentonian dulcet tones and Albert's proper Southeast London dulcet tones. Millwall territory, people, unfortunately, but I can't help where I live. Firstly, Tom, good morning. I get better soon.
Yeah. It sucks being ill. Hate it.
But Tom, thank you for coming on for your hat-trick appearance on Albert JTV.
I get a ball. Do I get a ball?
Tom, when we're done, you send me your address. I will send you.
Sounds like a scam.
It's going to cost a lot, though. I've seen the prices of Romeo prices.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm like, wow, yeah. I think I'll go into my was it Monzo card or debit credit cards? Yeah. But Tom, so much to discuss. I don't get you very, very often, so I'm honoured, particularly on the morning show. But first, I want to get away quickly. I watched the ladies' WSL game yesterday. Wow, where do I start? So I switched over. I thought, why is there a delay? What's happening? Something happened, and it's about the kit. I said, what? So what's the issue? And I could, Tom, I'll be honest with me. My first thought was, one, they don't need this, the women's game. That's the first thing. Secondly, I couldn't believe it. And then the tape ran the stocks. I like, obviously, Caroline Barker is in Christensen. She kind of didn't want to answer it, but fair play. Karen Carney sort of addressed it at the time. But talk about that a tiny bit, but also I want to talk about the game. It was a big game for our ladies yesterday. They had to win. And even if they did win, Tom, Chelsea's goal difference is far superior. And yeah, what I saw in the first sort of opening 20 minutes, wow. The game was done. Just your thoughts quickly, mate, about the performance and the result.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much a delay really does play into things. I think more so perhaps just the uncomfortability of wearing Chelsea socks is a bit mad. A bit mad. Yeah. Is it? Where do you point the finger? Do you point the finger and go, well, it's the kit person's fault because they should know to bring socks which don't clash? Do you blame the rules because I think that it's very obvious to tell who is a Chelsea player and who is an Arsenal player when you have blue and reds and it's just the socks that are both white. I think that's a bit crazy. So yeah, it was frustrating that it started off that way, but in the end, we probably hope the game had been delayed indefinitely by the performance that we put in, which wasn't good at all. And as you said, the game was over pretty much as soon as it started. There just was a lack of fire, a lack of intensity. They're tactically, Emma Hayes got it absolutely their team absolutely spot on in how they set up and played with. Lauren James was brilliant in the role that she deployed through that kind of. She kept dropping in and pulling the strings. And I think that we couldn't handle it. And we weren't strong enough in the tackles. We weren't strong enough in tactically in what we wanted to do. And it raises questions about Jonas Eidevall again. Because, no Champions League football this season. We're at the FA Cup to a Man City side we should probably have beaten. And, of course, the Conti Cup. We played Chelsea in the final. And if we play anything like we played this, it's going to be a very comfortable defeat again. So there is a lot of question marks on Eidevall at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, you're right. I've watched the ladies this season. I've went to the North London derby. That first half was a hard watch, man. I don't know. No one of the other Arsenal fans said the opposite. He's got a new contract, but he's been back, Tom. Like the players that have come in, Chloe Lukash, Emily Foxes, brought Russo in. I don't know why she didn't start yesterday. I get it. Blackton has got a hat trick against Chelsea. Was it Villa? Sorry, Villa, was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Villa.
the football, I'm gonna be honest, Tom. It's really turgid, man. Like I just. And he's got Williamson slowly come back, Beth Me slowly come back, but that first 25 minutes there was individual errors. They gave Lauren James the freedom of Kensington, Chelsea, the whole of London. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. I didn't think they'd win the league title anyway, Tom. I'm almost convinced now. I just think the gap's too big a difference to make up. It's not going to happen, mate. But yeah, Jonas, big questions, man. Even if they win the Conti Cup, I don't think that can mask over what I've seen this season, personally speaking. Big up to people in the chat, by the way. Thank you for joining us. See Scotty Ball all the way 11 hours ahead in Australia. Flipping hell. Go on, Scotty. G Talks is in there. Fergus, I appreciate Fergus because you've had a long couple of days. I know that. So thank you for joining the chat, people. And obviously, the communities come in from Tom's TGT community. So Tom, you're bringing royalty with you. I'm pleased.
They're a good bunch. They are. They're a good bunch.
Yeah, they are a good bunch. Tom, swiftly move on. I'm going to ask you this in two different parts in regards to Ben White. Start with the negative, England first. So I was at work. Pop comes up the feed. Oh, Southgate's sort of spoken about Ben White's situation. I fast forward that onto a couple of groups that I've been. I thought interesting listen because we've not really heard a lot in terms of Ben White. But Tom, I saw the Athletic piece from Jack Pitbrook, and I forgot the other guy's name.
Daniel Taylor.
Yeah. I'll come to your thoughts really. So, firstly, what did you make of the Southgate's interview yesterday in regards to the Ben White situation, Tom?
No, I thought it was really poor. I understand why he felt that he had to come out and answer the question directly in the sense of, it's been a long time. He's playing really, really well. If you don't say something, there's going to be a lot of questions raised toward you. So it was very much a self-protection response from Southgate. But I think he went too far with what he said. If he wants to say that, he can't pick him at the moment, he could have just said something on the lines of, we think Ben's a fantastic player, but right now is not the right time to talk about that situation. He could have not talked about the reticence that he described Ben showing after the Qatar conversation. That's a conversation that went on between two people after the Qatar World Cup that didn't need to be made public, didn't need to go into as much detail as that. And it sounds quite broad, sounds quite vague, just saying that there was reticence from Ben, but just that is enough to really swing things. And then, that then opened the door to all of this criticism from the wider English public and the wider English media toward Ben White. Articles were being headlined. Whilst I thought it was a good article from Jack Pitbrook and Daniel Taylor in The Athletic, I didn't necessarily agree with the headline of saying why Ben White's turned his back on England. Because I don't think he has turned his back on England. I think he's turned his back on the coaching staff that are there. It's not England he's turned his back on. Indirectly, perhaps you could argue, but certainly he's not saying no to England. It's a very frustrating thing, I think, to have to have gone through, especially after the day that he had. I think there was no coincidence that Arsenal decided to announce the contract on that day in the way that they did as well, with brilliant messaging.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
From the players, which showed you everything you need to know about Ben White as a character, because it was clear that, and what made it worse is that there's no way that Southgate wouldn't have seen that announcement, right?
Yeah.
So I don't believe for a second that Southgate wouldn't have seen Arsenal announce the contract, and I don't doubt for a second that he wouldn't have seen how those Arsenal players spoke about Ben White either. I don't know that for a fact, of course, but I just can't believe in my mind that he wouldn't have seen it, and that his media team and the people whose job it is to be aware of everything going on so they can brief Gareth Southgate on anything, because basically before press conferences, you know, managers get briefed, players get
Yeah,
briefed. You
of
have
course.
conversations, you have media training. There are people whose jobs it are to preempt questions in some ways, so they're best prepared to know what's going to be talked about in the presser, because you don't want your manager to be blindsided.
No.
So I'm sure that Southgate knew that Ben White had signed the new deal, that there was going to be potentially questions asked about him, and I'm sure that he probably would have seen the, you know, the messages sent by those Arsenal players, and it was just like an attempt to undermine his character in many ways. And you know, I have no issue with him not picking him, or rather, I have no issue with Ben White opting not to be selected. I don't think he's rejected England. I just think he's for now said, I don't want to be considered for selection. And I think it'll be very telling when the coaching staff changes at England. We'll see if indeed Ben White comes back into the fold. And if he does, I think that will tell you everything.
Yeah, 100%. Tom, flipping well said, mate. That's why I want to get you on it, man. The juicy stuff, man. But yeah, I mean, at the time when it happened in Qatar, I did think it was a bit odd to leave mid camp. I thought, and then obviously I was saying to people that, you know, I don't think we'll find out the truth until Ben White releases his book. You know, I'll pre-order it now, to be honest with you, though he's playing. But I mentioned to you yesterday as well, not just with Ben White, because listen, there's been other England players in the past, by the way, people. Paul Scholes, when he sort of had enough of England, he got a lot of criticism. And I like Paul. And Paul Scholes is outside of Arsenal, he was an excellent player that I really, really liked. He copped a lot of criticism when he kind of had enough of England set up, to be honest with you. But also as well, Tom, I thought it was quite interesting with the situation with Raheem Sterling. That's another odd one. I don't really understand what's happened there, because he's one of Southgate's most senior players.
Yeah.
And the way you look at the way he's been taken out of the squad, or whatever the interaction or relationship is between Gareth and Raheem, is very strange as well. It's not just a Ben White thing for me. Obviously, it's a shame from a personal point of view. I'm in a couple of Arsenal group chats who don't really care about the England stuff. But for me personally, Tom, I've always loved Arsenal representation for the national side, because we had a number of years where we didn't have anybody representing us. And he's been excellent for a couple of years, despite what our fan base says. So it's a shame, man. And yeah, I was quite surprised when the details Southgate went into. I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, wow. Because there's an element of you kind of, I get it, you're asked certain questions. You're in a press room, so you know how it goes, Tom. But sometimes you can help what you say. And Gareth is quite a diplomat when over certain situations in the past. So interesting, Tom. Very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Look, the Sterling thing's interesting. You know, like the players that have been called up, has Sterling done enough to get in the team? Probably not. But he's an experienced figurehead, and we've seen so many times, you know, he's called up players in the past like Harry Maguire, who hasn't necessarily deserved it despite not being in form. He's called up players like Calvin Phillips, who hadn't been in good form previously. He's obviously not called him up this time, but he had done in the past. And the thing about Raheem Sterling is that, you know, I think that he's arguably one of those players that if you are going to make those types of decisions and you're going to be consistent with those, he's probably the one that I would lean on the most from an England perspective, because he's always been so consistent for England in terms of his output. I'm not too fussed on it, you know, but I just think there's so much inconsistency about Southgate's decision making and management and coaching, and the performances, of course, of his team are incredibly inconsistent as well at times. So the England side of things is a real bugbear for me, because I see a man that I don't think is good enough to be England manager with the current squad that we've got. And I think he's proven that. I think we've underachieved as a nation. I think we should have reached a World Cup final. We should have won a European Championship. We should have been more competitive against France in the last World Cup. And I have fears about what will happen during the next one, despite the fact that we've got arguably the best squad for the Euros alongside France.
For a number of years.
Look how the form of Kane, the form of Bellingham, the form of Saka, the form of Foden, the form of these players is just incredible. Declan Rice, of course, as well. The form of this team and the individuals in it is amazing, and it's the manager's job. And you have to be an elite manager to combine all of those players together and make it work in a system, because Bellingham's going to be playing a role that he doesn't necessarily play for Real Madrid, which he plays kind of this role where he's in behind Rodrigo and Vinicius. He's going to be playing a midfield role instead, which he does exceptionally well. But, you've got to make it work. You've got to get Declan Rice involved in there. You've got to choose your midfield three and how you're going to kind of put it together. So, it's. I just wish we had a better manager. I really do.
No, Tom, you know what? I echo your sentiments, man. I with me, I support Arsenal, love Arsenal, but I always say this: I'm a football lover first and foremost. I love tournament football. I do the coverage with my YouTube Tottenham wife. I'm sure she might pop up in the chat at some point. But and it's so frustrating because I've seen a lot of good England sides, man. The 1990 side, the 1996 side, elements of Hoddle's England team in 98. There were some good players there. But this crop of players, and the manager, I'm not going to use the word because it's too early. If it's watershed, I'd be going full. I'll be going fully in, but I can't. But it is frustrating. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the summer in Germany. But the manager, I'm not too sure, man. I think he's had one tournament too many personally. But let's move on to the second side of Ben White. I know his current deal will run out Arsenal. I think it's 2026, Tom. It now goes to 2028 with a further deal. I thought the promo video was brilliant. I love Ben White. I'll be honest with you. So here's my little monologue, Tom, before I bring you in. Now, when we was first linked with him, people in the chat, when you watch it live now and watch it back, give us your thoughts in the comments below. But it comes back to the same adage with me is at least watch a player play. So we got linked with him before the men's Euros. Everyone was having AGM meetings, up in arms. 50 million. What are Arsenal thinking of what they're doing? And I said to some Arsenal fans, I said, trust me with this one. He's a very, very good defender. I like what I saw at Leeds. He's done very well at Brighton, playing in the free on the right side of the free. He comes to Arsenal. I actually thought he did all right in his first season personally.
So do I, yeah.
I was kind of like, well, what do people want him to come and do? He's not coming into a defense that is brilliant. So listen, I said it. I was keen on him coming to Arsenal. There were links with, I think the likes of Liverpool were interested in him, and that was concrete. That wasn't just me making it up or plucking it out of anywhere. I put the famous clip out last week saying, a particular Arsenal fan I had on my channel talking about, is he just another Rob Holding? I'll never forget their quotes in my life. Wow. I know, Tom. Yeah, we had that conversation off camera. But Tom, please, he signed. But what have you made of Ben White in an Arsenal shirt, and especially this season's second half after the winter break?
I think he's been one of the most impressive players in Arteta's tenure, to be honest, because of what he's had to kind of adapt to during such a short space of time. You join for £50 million as a centre back. You play as a centre back. You get battered in your first game by Sky after that Brentford game. You're already on the back foot. You've got to then win back, the plaudits, and he'd done that. You've got Arsenal fans, frothing at the mouth for William Saliba to come back from his loan at Marseille. So you're not even got a chance in that sense because you're already behind somebody who's never played for Arsenal before, never played in the Premier League, who is a very good player and has proven to be a very good player. And then the next season, you've then been told that this 21-year-old is going to be taking that spot because we know that's the future. And you've then been told that you're not going to be playing this position they've been playing the last year for the team that signed you for 50 million quid. We're going to move you to right back. Because at the moment, our starting right back, Tomiyasu, is injured. So you've got a chance to come into that right back position. And he played that first game away at Crystal Palace last season. I remember because I was on my stag do and I made sure that we were somewhere I could watch that game. And I remember watching absolutely just lock down Wilfried Zaha with Saliba on that right-hand side. And he continued to prove to be absolutely brilliant. Now, this season, the first half of the season in particular, he's had this knee issue that he's been carrying the entire time, which definitely affected his form. But since that Dubai trip, he's been arguably, alongside Saka and Havertz and Rice, our best player in this team. He is, and also he's had to go through another change because now he's being asked to invert as Kivior's on this left-hand side playing more traditionally. So this is the second positional change, tactical change in 3 years, less than 3 years that he's been at the club. And he's taken to it like a duck to water. He's been absolutely stunning in how he's delivered what he's been asked of. So for me, Ben White is one of our most consistent. He's he's an interesting character
Yeah,
for
he is.
sure as well. He
Have you
doesn't
interviewed
like
him,
doing.
Tom?
Yeah, I have. I have interviewed him,
What was that
and
like?
it's everything you dream of, Albert. It's
I love him. He's
he's
so
not the most
different, Tom.
keen. He's not the
Yeah.
most keen doing interviews, and that's fine. Like you don't have to be that way inclined. If you don't like doing interviews, I'm not surprised the interview that he did with the Arsenal website was with somebody he knows in Timsy. So I think that it makes sense that for the way they did the announcement, they got other people to speak for him because he doesn't necessarily like speaking in the spotlight, and that's absolutely fine. People are different. People have different characters, different personalities. You don't have to like them, but all I care about is that he delivers on the pitch, and he's doing that every single week.
Tom, salute, sir. Well said. I love Benjamin White. Benjamin White. Tom, you make the key point. Tactical. Plays on the right side of a free at Brighton. Comes to Arsenal centre back partnership with Gabriel. Then plays right back. Then he plays an inverted role. Like that's a lot of change, man. In the defensive area, which is so critical and has been the bedrock of Arsenal. Benjamin White, I love him. I just he's been brilliant. Goals and assists, and with the inverted role he's playing, Tom, he does it different from Zinchenko. Because obviously he plays at right back, he can bypass Saka, he can go past the strikers, he can go past the midfield players. He's different from Zinchenko. Zinchenko is better on the ball, but Ben White is also good on the ball. He can distribute well. But yeah, he's been, since the sort of whatever happened in Dubai, to stay in Dubai. Yeah, you know what? Go back there, Arsenal, if you need to be honest with you, if you keep performing like this. But yeah, I'm glad he signed Tom. He's been exceptional. And when I said what I said in my monologue before I brought Tom in, it was not a case of being proved right. I just, like I said from the outset, I've seen the guy play. If I don't know anything about football, it's my responsibility doing the YouTube thing to do my due diligence and not just make throwaway comments as I highlighted about 10 minutes ago. Because that's just crazy. If you don't know anything about him, just say you haven't seen him play. I need to know a bit more about him. But yeah, he's been exceptional. England's lost, even though people might think it's Ben White's decision, but it is. But listen, he's been phenomenal. And
it's his decision forced by what they've done.
Yeah,
so
yeah, 100%.
It is England's loss. Absolutely, it's they mismanaged him. It's not White's fault.
100%. People, like I said before at the start of the stream, absolutely obliterate the like button. Subscribe to the Gooner Talk TV. Now, if you never met Tom before, you never seen him before, I don't know what you've been doing.
Lucky people.
Well, I love you, Tom. So it's fine. But no, it's no. Like I said, subscribe and obviously smash a like, people. And like I said, when you're busy on your Saturday, done all your Saturday chores and just relaxing, listen to us on the download as well on audio. But Tom, yeah, great to get your thoughts about Benjamin White, people. Now let's move swiftly on. Quarter-final draw. I'm there anticipating, Tom, on my phone. Who we're gonna get? And I think I said to you, if I didn't say it to you, I said it to quite a few people. And this was before we play Porto, by the way, in the second leg. I said, if we get through, touch wood, we did get through. My head tells me we'll get Madrid, but my heart was telling me we get Bayern Munich. And it happened. I'll be honest, Tom, there were there's two teams I didn't want to play. I'm more than happy to admit that. It would be City and Atletico. Tom, I was going to message you. I watched that Atletico Madrid game.
Yeah.
And Inter Milan game. I was like, God, mate, if we get Atletico Madrid. You know when they say a team reflects the manager?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, absolutely with Simeone. And that's no disrespect to Simeone as a player. I remember watching him play, but he was a right, how can I choose the words carefully? He was a right sod when he played. And I didn't want to play them, Tom. I mean, yeah, man. But listen, we got Bayern Munich. What was your immediate thoughts, Tom?
It was immediate thoughts were like, oh. There was a bit like, oh, again? It wasn't like oh, that sucks. It was like I kind of wanted to play someone else. It wasn't that I'm disappointed about playing Bayern because I think we can beat them. It was like I kind of really wanted to draw like a PSG or a Dortmund or someone that's going to play a bit of football against. And Bayern will try and play football, but it's just like it's like going out and they've, you know, you hear all these rumors that they've changed the menu. You know, you've gone back to this place, they've changed the menu, and you're like, oh, I'm excited to see what I'm going to order tonight. And then when you get there, it's like, oh, sorry lads, we haven't got the produce in, so we've had to return to the old menu. We're like, oh, okay. Well, I'll eat it and I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think I can make it through it, but I really wanted something else. So, but yeah, I think that it's an interesting draw. I think it's one that allows Arsenal to feed into their revenge nature that we've done so many times, be it with Porto, be it with Newcastle, be it West Ham this season. You know, we've avenged a lot of results this season, and I think that there is something to be said about that mentality of wanting to get back against some of the teams. Well, and Arteta, of course, played in those games against Bayern Munich, and he will remember that, and he will remember also how recently their CEO spoke yesterday. That CEO, Christian Jensen, or I think is his name. Let me double check that. It's Christian Driesen. Sorry, Jan Christian Driesen said that, you know, they've beaten Arsenal pretty comfortably in their last 3 games, but this one will be different. And like, you know, he's not wrong. They beat us 5-1 in the last 3 times we played them, but. You know, I just kind of like the fact that he said that so they can use something to really go for it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, listen, it kind of was what I thought we might get, to be honest. It's just written in the stars for Kane to come back to the Emirates. He also mentioned to me, Tom, that obviously they can't travel to the home game for us.
Yeah, no fans.
It's the first leg April 9th, Tom, if I got that right, and the second leg 16th of April.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay. Yeah, definitely try and get a ticket for that. It's not often Bayern Munich turn up in town, people. Well, it's been quite a few years, but
17th is the second game.
Yeah. Okay, 17th, right? Okay, I thought so. Yeah, okay. So, listen, I think at this stage of the competition, there's no easy ties, man. There was some hotbed teams in there. So, sort of coming back to the Porto game, I'm hoping that your blood pressure and your heart rate is back to normal now. So I can imagine you being in the press box. It's a bit difficult to remain professional, should I say?
Sometimes.
Yeah, of course. But Tom, that second leg going into it, what was your feelings? Because obviously, when we drew Porto, I see some of the Arsenal fans' reaction. I'm like, oh, you know, over 2 legs, we'll do them 4s and 5s. I'm thinking, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Because I said this to you on your channel. I said, look, I was concerned about Arsenal coming into the Champions League this season because, no disrespect to Europa League, but the quality opposition of the Champions League, it's a different beast. And I don't care what people do in their domestic leagues, Premier League, Ligue 1. When you come to the Champions League, it's a different kettle of fish, particularly knockout stage football. It's very different. You have to be a lot more street smart, a lot more savvy. But I thought Arsenal would get through just about. But it was a tough night, Tom. It was tough, man. Really, really tough. I was just sort of atmosphere in the stadium.
It was unbelievable. It was, yeah, I'm trying to think of a game that was better for the noise. I don't think I can. The Brentford game the week before, or the weekend before, when it was 1-1 at half time, the noise through the second half was so consistent. Like, it was so determined to just keep singing, keep chanting until we finally got that winner, and it didn't die down. It just kept going. And the Porto game was slightly different because there were some lulls, I think, throughout the game. But overall, across the game, it was probably the best atmosphere I've ever experienced. The full-time moment when Raya makes that save was unbelievable. And when Trossard scored, it was like such a relief as well that we got the goal because we needed to. You know, I think about so many times the Monaco game comes to mind, you know, where we just need to bloody score and we can't, you know, and so that was such a relief to get that goal. But yeah, the penalty shootout was the most nerve-wracking moment I think I've ever had in the Emirates Stadium. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously you saw Tom. I've been doing quite a few watch-alongs this season. Yeah, the proper when I watch it back, I feel like I'm in an out-of-body experience. I've got to be honest with you. But David Raya, for me, I said it. He finally arrived at Arsenal that night for me. Even the games where he came into the team, Tom, his distribution-wise, if you watch him, he's excellent, and I say excellent in capital letters. And yeah, the penalty saves were amazing. I loved his interview on TNT. That's why I should have said 3. The goalkeeping coach is not going to be happy with me. I saw Audrey's face to say, that's the kind of talk I like to hear, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was a brilliant interview. Obviously, Saka's interview was brilliant on there as well. But Tom, listen, buzzing. Arsenal in a very good position in terms of the league. Big game, obviously, on Easter Sunday, which I'm assuming you're going to, Tom. I would assume so. Manchester.
Yeah, should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send you some packed lunch in the post. So you know. Sunday roast packed lunch. Why not, Tom? But Tom, I know I haven't got you for long. There's one thing I want to talk to you about. Actually, I'm so glad I thought of it just before I came on live. Now, I met you. Well, I scared the daylights out of you, to be precise. When I saw you for the Brighton game, after the game, and we spoke about the striking situation at Arsenal. Now, you know who I want at Arsenal. It's gained a lot more traction now. I don't know why, but it has. Tom, talk to me about this young man, Victor Gyökeres. Tom, I obviously know Tom White is a Sky Bet guru who I love to pieces. And he raves about Victor Gyökeres when he's at Coventry. He's obviously gone to Sporting Lisbon and done brilliant. I think in terms of total appearances, 34, 27 goals and 11 assists. At the time I saw it, I don't know how accurate this was, Tom. He released calls they're talking about was about 87 million, I think.
Yeah,
quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Tom, I said to you, bring this man, not you personally, Tom, obviously. Bring this man to the red carpet. Nothing against Ivan Toney, nothing against Ollie Watkins, right? Let me make that very, very clear. This is the guy. Go on, Tom. Come in, Tom. Sorry, mate.
No, that's about. I think what Arsenal fans need to do is obviously just temper their expectations around all striker links.
Yeah.
With anyone at the moment. We're in March.
Yeah.
The transfer window will be open in June, and there's a lot of football still to be played. Arsenal will not be. I can't see anything really happening for Arsenal until that obviously that window opens. I know sometimes we like to do business early and stuff, and you hear a lot of transfer talk, but the reality is that the focus is very much on the football. So even though these links may rise and fall, and you might hear a bit about Osimhen recently has seen some, a lot of talk about him with Arsenal in the last few days. It's just one of those ebbing and flowing things that you get throughout the season. Arsenal are interested in a lot of strikers. Gyökeres is one of those, for sure.
Yeah.
His numbers for Sporting are brilliant. Over 40 goal contributions this season already.
Madness.
He's arguably the hottest centre forward in terms of his form. He's not bad looking, but he's
beautiful, Tom.
In terms of his form, he's absolutely one of the hottest forwards going around at the moment. And I think that just to see Arsenal move for that player would be a real kind of moment in some ways, because Arsenal don't tend to do that type of deal in some, like, I know we signed Declan Rice for 105 million, but with Declan Rice, it's like Premier League proven, going from Premier League club to Premier League club. The Gyökeres one is where a player has like risen through the ranks, but not in one of Europe's elite leagues. He's been in the Championship where he's done well. He's gone to Sporting now in the Portuguese league where he's done really, really well. And it's a bit like the Darwin Núñez deal to Liverpool in some ways, because obviously he was at Benfica and then he's made that switch to the Premier League. It's taken a bit of time to adjust in some ways, but he's already played in England in the Championship against physical, competitive teams. The Championship is one of the most tricky leagues in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
And people underrate it massively. So to do it there, to then go to a completely different environment and make an immediate impact in Portugal and score and assist as many as he has, I think, it would just be it would give such a boost, and there'd be such a hype around what he could bring. Whereas with Osimhen, there would be such expectation immediately. Whereas with Gyökeres, I think it's a case of, this is interesting. Let's see what he does, as opposed to Toney or Watkins or Osimhen, where it's like, if they haven't scored in the first half of their first game, it's like, well, they're a flop. That didn't work. They're not going to work at Arsenal. They're not stepping up. So, whereas I think with Gyökeres, there's less pressure, but a lot more upside with him. So, I really like him.
That's what I like to hear. And that's the thing. Before we quickly wrap up, because I know Tom's got to go. I've always been a big advocate of buying players within the league because I want them to be ready to go. But for me, with the striker market, it's different for me. For me personally speaking, I'm saying that people go, oh yeah, but the Sky Bet Championship, oh that was then, and Premier League. Listen, strikers have to start somewhere. Aguero, Van Nistelrooy, Bergkamp, Henry. If anybody wants to go down in history books, if you remember Kevin Phillips, came up with Sunderland, first season, 30 Premier League goals. If you know how to put the ball in the back of the net, people, trust me, they can play. And that's what I will say to that. So yeah, Tom, it has been an absolute blast. We've blasted through 35 minutes. People in the chat, if you're watching now, smash the like button quickly. Tom, you absolute legend. I want you to get better soon. When will you be on next? And take some days off as well, people. Come on,
Tom. Yeah, I won't be doing that. Because I never do that. Actually, that's not true. One day I had food poisoning and I just literally could not stop throwing up. So that's the only day where I really was unable to do the show. But I'll be back tomorrow morning, of course. And then I'm heading off to Stamford Bridge actually to cover Chelsea. So do
come on, Leicester.
Yeah, indeed. Come on, Leicester. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a different experience covering a different team, coming from a relatively unbiased perspective when writing about it. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Now, Tom, big up to you people. If you don't know who Tom's Twitter handle is in the box and down on the bottom of the screen as well. Subscribe to the Gooner Talk TV people as well as Albert JTV. We are over and out for another episode. # Morning Breakfast Show with Tom Canton and Albert JTV. So people, see you soon. Good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We are over and out.